Drag me by my wig and call my wig sponge if you wish. I'll pack my bag and go back to the village. The government is not going to do us any good in Nigeria. The government is not ready. Things are not going to change. In fact, if she brings vegetable from her farm, my mom, Jesus Christ, you will pick vegetable and get. There's always surplus of food when it comes to food. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gistwithgenevieve. Your girl has got a new hairstyle. Welcome back, guys. On this video we're going to be talking about something really sensitive and something that is going to be poking a lot of Nigerians who are living in Nigeria. And for context, I am a Nigerian mom of 3 who just moved to the UK, and so I have the right to make this video. Okay, so watch this video to the end, and this is my opinion. If you don't agree with it, it's okay. You tell me your own opinion in the comments. It's as simple as that. You don't have to agree with mine. So on today's video, I'm going to be sharing the things I would do differently if I was in Nigeria today. This particular topic is very sensitive given the fact that Nigeria, just like most countries of the world, is going through a lot of economic recession. You know, the whole increase in cost of living crisis is in Nigeria, is in the UK, is in different parts of the world. But it's happening the way it's happening in Nigeria because of reasons that we can relate with. The wages are not going up, and there are a lot of other factors that makes it very difficult to be a Nigerian living in Nigeria at this time. So we know that issue, we know what is the problem, we know what is happening, but this is what I would have done differently if I was living in Nigeria right now, because the whole economic problem and the rising cost of living has set Nigerians up in different aspects. It has increased the poverty level. In fact, every average Nigerian right now is living on the poverty level. I'm not joking. Majority of Nigerians are poor, and the people who were not poor or who are not poor right now, they are just on that poverty line. Any small thing, you just fall back. So the rich is just, you know, a few. Now, make no mistake about it, drag me by my wig and call my wig sponge if you wish, but I'm going to say everything I'm going to say the way I'm going to say it. I hope you receive it with good faith. Watch this video to the end so you hear everything I have to say, and if you don't agree, tell me what you want to say in the comments. Okay, feel free to share and tag anyone you want to tag to this video to see it. Let's get to it immediately. There are generally two concepts with this video. One, people don't watch my videos, so I'm free to say things and get away with it. And secondly, this week reminds me of a throwback to when I was growing up as a young girl in Nigeria, and I wore this type of wig a lot. I wore the black, I wore the gold. I was just look for the pictures of me wearing this type of hairstyle, and now I'm wearing it as a wig though. Okay, it reminds me of my teacher, Mrs. Cheringo. Anyway, I'll get straight to the video, and the reason why it's a throwback for me is because I'm going to be making a video that throws me back to my root and to my origin. And I'm not making this video because I cannot relate to what is happening in Nigeria. Even if I'm not in Nigeria, I have my family members in Nigeria. I have my mom, my brothers, and my sister, my niece, my nephews, all in Nigeria. I have my in-laws, I have my mother-in-law, my sister-in-laws. I have people who are directly related to me in Nigeria. I have my friends, my very good friends back home. So I can relate to what is happening in Nigeria. I know what is happening in Nigeria, and directly or indirectly it affects me. So whatever thing I'm trying to say here is not me trying to be insensitive, it's me trying to give all of us a way forward. So you can tell me to shove whatever I have to say in my throat or shove it down my ass, but this is my channel and this is Gistwithgenevieve. I have the right to say whatever I want to say. Okay, my opinion. So getting straight to it, if I was living in Nigeria, what will I do right now to survive? Okay, I'm not going to bore you guys with the inflation analysis or the way the inflation has happened. That's left for P2B and all the economists to do. But I'm going to just take up one aspect of economics that I studied back and makes sense to me, that still resonates to me. Economics is mostly demand and supply. Okay, so the higher the demand, right, possibly higher in the cost of that commodity, and you can also supply more. But the truth is that if something is in high demand, there is likely a chance that the prices go up, right? So using that simple mathematics, that simple knowledge of economics, that is what I would have used to solve my problem in Nigeria. Currently in Nigeria, the cost of everything is high. Rent, clothing, feeding, and maybe school. So these are the basic needs of a human being. The basic needs of every human being right now is to have a roof over your head, to eat a decent meal, at least one meal a day, and also at least wear clothes to cover you up, and then have a decent mix of income or different income, and then if you have kids, to be in school. So tackling this means now, how do we go about it? Firstly, what I would do is that I'll pack my bags, because the rents are in the city. I was living in Abuja, so let's say people in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, all those top cities where rent is so expensive. For me, I'll pack my bag and leave the city. I'll leave the city and move to the country. Now, if you're in Abuja, you can move farther away, and if it is so hard, you pack your bag and go to your village. Now, before you come to me and say, oh, you're sounding insensitive, it's not easy to say people should pack their bags and go to their village. You're in Abuja and you're paying rent of millions, and the job you're doing in Abuja is not even able to pay your rent. If your job cannot, 3 months salary cannot pay your rent, you're in the wrong job, or you're living in the wrong house. So pack your bags, go to your village. The reason why I said I'll pack my bags and go to my village is because an average Nigerian has a family house back home, away from the city. So there is this village house and city house. You know, the village house sits there wasting away, empty, and you're paying rent in the city. I'll pack my bag and go back to the village. One thing it has done for me is that I am no longer paying rent, because we are on survival mode. This is not time for, we are trying to stay alive first, survive first. Then after survival, we can now talk about, other things. Move to the city. Now you're going to ask me, oh, what happens to my job, or what happens to my job and all. Before you make that move, you have to calculate the risk and check, this job, is it serving me? Because you weigh all the things that you have to gain by moving to the village. You're not going to have, you won't pay rent. Now, if you have kids, for example, your kids will be in a more affordable school, even though the downside of it is that the schools in the village, you can't compare the quality to the ones in town. But stay with me, internet has made it easy for you to access anything you want to access for your children. I have seen kids who are raised in the village who are qualitative up here. I'm not sounding insensitive, but I'm just being real. Because what will happen is, if Mr. A, B, C to Z should pack their bags and say, you know what, I'm tired of this in Lagos, back to the east, back to wherever you're coming from, or back to your village. You go to your village, there is going to be development has to come there. The more people are there and the more people are willing to develop that place, it develops. And the same equilibrium of development you find in the cities will gradually, it's not going to take 1 day or 2 days, gradually start coming to the village, if you get what I mean. Now, you who is Mr. A or Mr. B can start a school in the village. This school is not going to be as expensive as the one in the city, but because of the quality you want to do, you might bring all of that in. Hire teachers, cheap labor. Hire teachers, you're paying lower rent, little or no rent. Your village hall can even be volunteered for you to be using at school from Monday to Friday. I'm just saying that there are just things you can do in the village to make that life easy for you. You're not paying house rent. Now, talk of food. An average Nigerian has a family land in the village that is growing fallow, or your cousins who have remained in the village are the ones cultivating and farming, and they are eating food from it. Even though seedlings and seeds are no longer very affordable, but to be able to grow your own food is gold right now in Nigeria. Imagine that last tomatoes you bought at least 4 or 5 for 4,000 naira, that you poured the seedlings into your farm and you grew tomatoes that you're going to be enjoying. You grew pepper, you're growing so many other crops. If plenty people start growing their food, tomato doesn't have to travel from the north to circulate in other parts of Nigeria for everybody to have food. Everybody is growing their own food, and immediately people start growing their own food, the demand for food, some food anyway, in the market is going to drop. And once the demand drops, the prices of those commodities will have to stop dropping, because if Mr. A to Z, they are growing their food and they're not coming to buy from seller A to Z, seller A to Z will get the memo that people have food at home, okay, and they're not coming to buy, and their prices will have to drop, so that it will be more appealing for people who are not growing their food to buy, if this whole mathematics makes sense. So grow your own food. You can't go wrong having a garden. Even if you're not going back to your village, if you have your backyard where you're staying, if you have pots and pans and all, buckets you can use to grow food and vegetables right now, it is just something that should work for everybody living in Nigeria. So life needs to gradually start returning to countryside. Here in the UK also, I noticed that majority of, land in the UK is country. The city is just little. It's country. People live on outskirts of the city a whole lot. You see farmers making it. Farmers are big. They own big lands and big properties. So what I'm saying is, if I was in Nigeria at this time, I would maximize every single thing. Do you know that if you live in the village, for example, and you own acres of lands, growing palm oil, cultivating cassava, growing cash crops, growing things, food crops, selling it, possibly considering the wider picture of exportation, you are the real deal. Life needs to gradually return back to where it started. You know, this whole mentality of going to these big cities. How many big cities are there in Nigeria? Lagos, Abuja. They are so saturated, they are so flooded with people. Everybody, Kaigaba Lagos, Kaigaba Abuja. I did the same thing. I went for greener pastures in Lagos and Abuja and all. But I'm saying that having a rethink is not too late. If you go back to the village, in quotes, what do you have to lose? Connection, right? There are more opportunities. But do you know that you can go back to the village and then create opportunities in the village for people who are in the city to come and work for you? The government is not going to do us any good in Nigeria. The government is not ready. Things are not going to change. It's not changing anytime soon. We hope and we pray that they change. But the reality is that it doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. At least not with the present government that we are seeing. I don't know about the next government. I don't even know if the opposing party had been in power, how things would have been. But with what we are seeing right now, it doesn't look like the next 5 years things are going to get better. So we have to start creating means of getting ourselves out of certain things. If you go back to your village, you don't have to worry about rent. Food, you start growing your food. Maybe you can buy food for a couple of months, and before you know it, your own food is grown. You have your yam. You keep your yam for next year. I remember when we were growing up, we used to plant. My father and my mother, they would take you to farm. We were living in the city. We grew up in Aba, but we had farm, big farm. Even though I refused to go to farm, I did not used to follow them to farm. But it makes sense to me what they are doing now. We didn't used to buy yam. When yam is in season, we had a lot of it to eat. When corn was in season, we had a lot of it to eat. Anything that is in season, we have a lot of it. In fact, if she brings vegetable from her farm, my mom, Jesus Christ, you will pick vegetable and get. There's always surplus of food when it comes to food. There's always surplus of food. Because not one day did my parents stop farming. Human beings cannot take away farming. You have to grow your own food. You just have to grow your own food. If you can't do it in your backyard, if you can't do it in your house where you're living, go home, go to your village, grow your own food. This is not the time to leave anything on the table and, you know, waste things. Some people have very beautiful houses in the village. Empty, big houses in the village. Nobody is living there, but you're in the city. So this is exactly what I would have done if I was in Nigeria. If I was in Nigeria at this point, I would pack my bags, go to the village, find opportunities in the village, enjoy free rent, enjoy free water, enjoy everything I can get for free until things get better, and create opportunities for people to invest. In fact, I will turn village to the new city. So share your thoughts with me. If you agree with me in the comments, what you would have done. If you don't agree with me, it's also okay, like I said in the beginning, but let me know in the comment section. I wish all the Nigerians who are currently living in Nigeria, I wish you all the best, and I can relate to everything that is happening to Nigerians. I can relate to the pain of being in Nigeria, living in Nigeria, and we hope for things to get better for it. And while that happens, we also hope that we find ways of surviving generally. I don't know if this video makes any sense. I don't know if it makes sense to you at all, but then feel free to say whatever you want to say in the comments as you leave. I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.